Why won't you let it go, let it go? What we had was never personal, personal. Nothing you could better save your breath, leave your regrets behind. Invincible, you're not invincible.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of the Approach with Caution podcast. I'm your host, Adam. Beside me, I got Cody.
Yo.
On the couch today, as always, we got Alex.
Woo.
And if you love our intro, you're going to love our guest today. We got Tyler Kern.
What's going on, everybody?
Yes.
Woo woo! Lead singer of Take the Name and the man responsible for our intro song, Invincible. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Thanks for coming. Too bad.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on here.
So, with it being a music category, I'm going to let Cody take over the episode today. So he's going to be kind of running ship. I'm going to be sitting in and learning a little bit about how music goes. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Cody.
So, oddly enough, Tyler and I are cousins, believe it or not. And we didn't know growing up, really. We weren't super close, but oddly enough, I got a job at the Lehigh Valley Mall at a skate store called Zoomies. And Tyler actually was my boss.
Yeah.
So the signs were there because we hit it off like super quick. Like we had the same like music liking, we had the same clothing, apparel. Like we were just into that same thing. And I knew there was like some kind of bond that was going to be formed there for a while. And then we all went separate ways. I stopped working there. He stopped working there. And then eventually I was looking through, I think, pictures with my mom. We were just talking, and then she was talking about Tyler's dad, Dave, and they were related. I'm like, Tyler Kern? I was like, my boss? And she was like, yeah. So then after that, I called him, and he came over like an hour, and maybe like hour or 2 hours. We were just shooting the shit and talking, and have been super close ever since. So I just want to thank you for coming on again. Dude, really fucking sick.
Yeah.
So.
Your family.
Yeah, of course.
You're my brother, and I love you.
Love you too, man. So getting into the talks about music, when did you decide that music was the career path you wanted to take with your life?
So, when I was like 12, 13 years old, I really started to discover music that I liked. I was obsessed with 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin, and I still am.
Oh, yes.
That hasn't changed. But I started getting into the music a lot, and I just wanted to do something with it. So there was this one kid in one of my classes in middle school that came up to me and was like, hey, I have an old guitar. My mom said if you stop by with $80, you can have it. So I asked my mom if she would get it for me. And surprisingly enough, she was like, yeah, let's go. She was like super adamant about it. So we drove over to the kid's house, bought the guitar, and immediately on the way back, we didn't even stop at home yet. My mom was like, we're going to sign you up for guitar lessons.
Oh, wow.
And then I got a little nervous because I was like, oh, this is becoming like an actual thing. Like sometimes I think I want to do something and I just kind of hold back on it and, get anxious about it. But my mom was like, no, we're doing this. So she took me right over to the Hawk Music Center that was around the area that we grew up in, and signed me up for guitar lessons and met my guitar teacher. Rest in peace, Dave. Miss you a lot. But he taught me how to play guitar. I went to him for years, and from there on, that's like what really established me wanting to do this stuff. And throughout high school and whatnot, I had a bunch of friends that were in bands, but like I felt like I was still learning how to play, and I didn't feel confident enough to ask somebody to join a band. And I always felt like everybody else around me was a little more, further along than I was.
Did have like the same ambitions, like music interests too?
I was obsessed with it, but like I feel like at the time when we were younger, everybody was like, "Yeah, I want to be like that band I like," right? So it wasn't until after I graduated and everything that a couple of my buddies that I went to school with messaged me one day and were like, "What do you feel about doing vocals?" And I always enjoyed singing and would kind of do it privately and stuff, but like I started singing for a couple friends like here and there, and they're like, you're actually like not too bad at it, like you should maybe try to do it some more. And then when a friend reached out to me and was like, yeah, like you want to try vocals, I was like, sure, let's go over. And I went over to the house, and oddly enough, that was like the very first establishment of this band becoming what it is today. now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, I guess, the backstory there.
That's awesome. So regarding when you became or started doing vocals mostly, did you know you wanted to take the harder rock route, like 3 Days Grace, like Breaking Benjamin? You
Yeah.
wanted that sound, like that's what you were determined to, or did you ever want to dabble in maybe some like lighter, softer stuff?
So when I was first getting into music, I was big into all the what you consider, dad butt rock now, right? But I still love that music. But
It's still some of the best stuff.
Yeah,
some
like,
of the heaviest
3 Days
hitting
Grace.
songs.
which I don't like calling dad rock. I feel like that band's a little too emo for that.
Yeah.
But like Seether, I love Skillet and all that stuff.
Hinder.
Hinder.
Yeah. Save
All
Webs
of
of an
them.
Angel is probably the greatest song to ever
Yes, it
It's
is.
so
grace the
popular.
radio.
It is.
I
Addicted,
think so.
Saving Abel too.
Saving Abel, yes.
But like I was into all that stuff. But then as I was in high school, I discovered the band Sleeping with Sirens, and oddly enough, that band became my immediate favorite. And then that got me into becoming a Hot Topic kid. And then that's how I got into the scene
I
stuff.
think we all had that.
We all.
Yeah. But
I
like
don't know if I can
that's
speak for Adam, but
it's funny
Yeah.
because like we
Back
grew
when
up in
Hot Topic
that
was
scene
scary.
of like we grew up in that scene of like when I was in high school, like kids coming to school with the Black Veil Brides like face paint on and stuff, and like the knives and pens and whatever, like what was it, We Stitch These Wounds, what that was
I
called,
think
right?
so.
Like that's what I started getting into, the scene music, and then that pretty much introduced me into going heavier, and then I've gone heavier, kept the rock roots. So like when the band, to get back to it, I feel like it diverted from that, but like to get back to it, originally, I wanted to make the band more of like a radio rock thing, and like as we've progressed in music and stuff, like even more recent years, like I've gotten into like way more like the modern metalcore scene, and like I wanted to take the name to like merge into that realm. So like
Nice.
our newer stuff is more like categorized, I'd say heavier, and like
Right.
what we have coming out that nobody is aware of yet, it's heavier.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, going back to, I'm sure Alex can relate.
Yeah.
Seeing the kids with the face, come in with the face paint.
Oh,
and all that stuff.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like you wanted to be a part of that, and it was just like you were so hooked, and like,
Yeah.
well, what's that? What band is that on that shirt? And you're like, okay. So I went home, and it was the same way. I was like, all right, I'm gonna look up this band. And
I don't
like,
think our
start
school
listening.
really had much of that, but they definitely had the monsters, like the shirts with the monsters on it, the giant neon colors. Like you had a day to remember. You
Like
had
Ask
to see-
Alexandria.
Those were all the
Asking
cool shirts,
all
man.
the-
Yeah, Pierce the Veil shirt.
Even
Yeah.
like bands like nobody heard of back then from Germany. There's a band called We Butter the Bread with Butter.
I remember that
And
band.
That's how you butter bread?
It is some of the heaviest stuff, like from
I think they're
back
German, too.
then. And you just read the name, and it was one of those where it may not have pertained to like the style of music that it was, but you have people looking at the shirt and they're like, what is that? And it
Yeah.
gets you talking. So that
Yeah.
person's like, oh, let me check it out, and it just grows from
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, it was a big thing back in the day. Like everyone wearing band shirts, and it was just like, oh wow, you like that band, and it was
Yeah.
that was like the whole like getting into the community and the
Yeah.
scene and
That's where you see the separations at lunch. You see the jocks, you see the country fellas, you see
The
the,
emos.
the emo kids,
Yep.
and
everything.
Kid with no friends.
the kid with no friends,
Can't find no table to sit at. Nobody wants you
No
there.
band members to find.
no table.
Yeah.
So basically, when Take the Name formed,
Mhm.
you guys were under a name prior.
Yeah.
After that kind of happened, the sound change also changed as well. Do you see a lot of bands where they think they have something, like a sound they want, and then they just change it drastically? Like, for example, Bring Me the Horizon. 2006, I think it was, the County
Mhm.
Blessings album
They
came
were
out.
like super heavy.
Heavy, one of the heaviest
What's that
albums
song?
I've
Tell
ever-
Slater not to.
There's that one.
Yeah,
There's
I don't-
Pray for Plagues.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
everybody knows, and they made such a drastic change in their sound, but it was
Mhm.
almost for like the better, because you see their
Yeah.
Spotify numbers, they're selling arenas
Yeah.
out, doing festivals. Do you think it's something that they choose to do, or do you think along the lines they have whispers in their ear, people like, hey, maybe you should do it, and it's kind of like a, not peer pressured, but like an influencer that they decide to make that change?
So I would say getting into the thing about the old name, we used to be called Violet 9, and we were only that for like a little bit anyway. But like some band, I don't care, I'll say it. Some band from Minnesota called the
Drop
Violet
it.
Nines hit us with a cease and desist, and like we were really new to the stuff. And, like I was like personally me too. Like I never thought about the legitimate thing of like, oh, you got to trademark these names and stuff. But like this band just trademarked their name real quick, and then had some lawyer send us a cease and desist, and were like, you gotta change your band name, you gotta delete everything that's associated with that name, like we're
Wow.
gonna sue you for that. And I tried to do like a coexistence agreement, which is like they know we exist and vice versa. We just kind of call it as is, and they were like, no, we want to sell socks called Violet 9 socks, so I swear to God. So we can't have the same name. So the funny thing is, like, that band name, right, like, I never had a meaning to that name. It was just, hey, all these bands I like, either one's a number and one's a color. Why not merge them both?
Right.
I didn't know who that band was. So it's not like I actually copied them. I had no idea who the hell they are.
It's one of those odds.
Still don't.
It just
But-
pops up. Yeah.
Stars align, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow.
But it was one of those things where then I felt like somebody's trying to take away something from me that I worked really hard on doing, and not just me, but like our entire band, you know. So that's where Take the Name came from. It was like, go ahead, have it, loser. Like, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, and we're gonna grow, and you can take the name, have it. And it's kind of like the pettiest thing ever,
Right.
but it has a more of a meaning now too. At the same time, it's like people trying to take away your identity from you and like powering through that and stuff. So I would say ultimately for us, our sound didn't change just because we changed our name or anything. We were just gonna do what we wanted to do and stuff. To the question of like other bands and stuff doing the music and changing, I think what we see is like we made the music we did at the time, and then we see what's evolving and around and stuff in the music scene. Like what are artists doing right now that people are really seeming to latch on to and stuff, and like, but at the same time, not just doing something for the sake of doing it to make people like you, but it's like actually enjoying it too. So the style of music that we've gotten more into, like this modern metalcore scene, like I personally really love that music. I've actually always wanted to make music like that we are right now. So we're just seeing like that's in, you know, and like we want to be able to be sustainable
Right.
in doing this too. And like getting to your question of like bands like Bring Me the Horizon or like what are other bands that changed their sound?
I mean,
Like,
Following in Reverse.
Yeah,
You have
like-
to name drop them, essentially one of the
Oh,
biggest bands.
Yeah.
They
if
are.
not the biggest band in the
Exactly.
scene right now.
they literally are.
Whether
or
you
like,
like them or not, you have to agree they're
Yeah.
doing something.
or like of Mice and Men when like Restoring Force came out, stuff like
Mhm.
those bands.
I mean, even Acid
Yeah.
Alexandria. I mean, they went from biggest metalcore to now they're just
I think what it came to
different. New
was
sound.
at that time those bands were doing something that was super trendy, and it was getting stale, and all these bands are like, we don't want to just be a band for like 3 years, and like we like now we're used to doing this. We want to be able to have a sustainable career, so it's all about evolving a sound. Also, like kind of growing up too. Like that stuff was a trend, but like as you get older too, do you really want to play that stuff all the time? Like, do it for your fans, right? And like the music that you made because they appreciate it, and those fans appreciate you, and they stick with you because they like what you did, and you know, definitely give back to them. But at the same time, like for your own self too, you have to feel like you're not stuck in a hole and have to do the same thing. So these bands were like, probably in my opinion, that's what they wanted to do, and they wanted to make something groundbreaking, changing. Because you got to remember those bands like that stuff was kind of like groundbreaking, and like for That's the Spirit, for Bring Me, when they put that out, I consider that a groundbreaking
For
record,
sure.
and that
There's
kind of
nothing
opened
like
up.
it at the time.
Yeah, and that opened up to a lot of artists doing that kind of music. So it's changed. Change is inevitable. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then falling back on our host here, Adam, I know he's not really into like the heavier, the harder stuff like we are, but I do know, as both of us growing up with SmackDown versus Raw, NASCAR Thunder, there was a lot of like heavier, like 3 Days Grace was on there. You had Breaking Bad on there. You had Seven Dust, and you had a bunch of these bands. So, is there anything that you can take from that you would enjoy from that, or was it just kind of like a nostalgia feel mostly?
So I like the nostalgia feel of the music. I mean, you log on now and the 2K games are great and realistic. They look incredible. Some things, unfortunately, with budgets or who knows what, get cut out of that. And the music from the original SmackDown versus Raw to right around the time 2K got in was incredible, and it was expanding my horizons into these, into a different brand of music. I grew up big into country, only listened to country up to that point, but even now, Like I'll go back and I'll get on Spotify and I'll watch the the SmackDown versus Raw 2008 soundtrack. And if you're working out, if you're doing something and your adrenaline's pumping, that's the kind of music that you want to listen to.
For sure.
And I feel like that's like back then it was always like you listened to what you liked, and like you were kind of like, I feel like people were kind of like afraid to like go out of the boundaries of like genres and stuff. But like now it's just like so many like metal bands like pull influences from different genres. You don't have to listen to metal. You don't have to listen to just metal. You can listen to jazz, country. You always pull influences from other things. So now I feel like music is so broad now that people listen to anything.
And that was one of the things too. Like I'm not familiar with this kind of music, but when Cody had pitched your band to maybe we could do something with that music, I started listening to it for 3-4 days in a row, and I was like, this song's good, and it came down to it where we had like a 45-minute discussion about like, I like this song, but this song has something in it, and so it's good to get the name out there. But like when you cross over, like Alex said, from country to this to that, and you learn more stuff. There's a lot of good stuff out there, especially local bands. And I'm sure it's just like wrestling where you got the big guys up here, but the local stuff is producing so much good stuff too. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with some more from Tyler right after this. We're going to get into a couple more things. We'll see you soon. At this point, we would like to thank Allentown Tables for their continued support of the Approach with Caution podcast. For more information or to get your pool tables and game room furniture, check out allentowntables.com. For advertising opportunities, feel free to reach out to us at approachwithcautionpod@gmail.com. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. We still got Tyler with us here in the studio.
What's up, guys?
Lots more music to get to. Cody, we'll get right back into it.
Sure. So, pretty much touched on a good history of Take the Name, how you guys formed, where your origins in music came from. Kind of just wanted to touch on basics of how you go about writing for a song. Like, does it have to be like an event, or do you just kind of sit and think of stuff that either happened and you
or
just
like
go,
a space like you go to?
Yeah,
or
and it's just kind of like, oh, that'd be sick for a song, and you jot it down, or how does it come to you?
So a lot of the process that how we work right now is like we work heavily with our producer. So we're actually in the process of making a full-length album right now.
Oh, sweet.
And we went back to Ricky Armelino to be our producer. He on our last EP, Reliving Trauma, he produced Kerosene and Monster. We feel like those songs are really great.
Certified bangers.
Yeah.
If you haven't
Thank
checked
you.
those out,
Go
Thank
check
you.
them out
you gotta
now.
check those out.
Thank you. But we like the process of working with him, so we wanted to continue that process with his team again. So what we've been doing right now is, honestly, it might sound weird to people, but me and Nor, our guitar player, we hop on Discord, honestly, and he's at his house, and I'm listening in, and we're writing together, creating a lot of the instrumentals, right? So just to get a bunch of demos down, we wanted to have a good number of instrumental demos that we just wanted to go from there and choose from. Also, we did some writing with my good friend Zach Allen as well for producing. There's a couple tracks on the new record that he helped produce that him and I worked on together that we're going to bring on to this. And from there, once we have our instrumentals that we feel are really great, what I'll do then is I'll go to Ricky's and we will write vocals together. A lot of, like, some of the songs, we have one coming out. I don't know when it will be out yet, but it's called My Shadow. That's going to be the next single. What I did was I went over to Ricky's house and we sat in his living room on an acoustic guitar and just jammed it out together and wrote with it. And then when we felt that it sounded really great, we were like, okay, this works. Let's go downstairs and actually track it. Let's make this a real thing. And then from there we went and brought the song to life. And that's pretty much how the process is going for us right now.
That's awesome. The name actually does sound pretty cool. My Shadow.
Yeah.
Do you care to touch on the topic of how you got that name, or?
So, My Shadow is about you were like in a relationship with somebody, and this person made you feel like you were the problem, and they pushed you away, and you're struggling through the feelings of I have to move on from this, but I don't want to.
Right.
And as you're going through your process of moving on, the chorus touches on, like, you don't get to be my shadow, you don't get to see me glowing, so it's like, you're not going to be able to walk with me and together with me in the rest of our life because you made me about to be the problem and pushed me away. And coming to it, it says, the show is both the one I know I already am, so it's like trying to prove this point, like, I already know who I am, and I didn't need somebody to tell me that I'm not who I am. So it's pretty much about that kind of stuff. Moving on when you don't want to.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's really interesting. And I've noticed a lot of your songs, even Alex too, a lot of your songs have to do with, don't want to say like, not trauma, but like what, your last EP was. It was
really,
majority about stuff, which is such a topic that a lot of people can relate to. I know Adam can relate to trauma people have caused, Alex, myself.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that you guys are sticking with a topic that is relatable to people. People could be like, man, I'm really going through this right now, and someone could just say, hey, I mean, here's a song to help, get you through if you listen to the words, and it can just take off from there. With that being said, also, there's a lot of songs that come out, for example, we'll use Dial Tone, like Catch Your Breath. We'll use, Just Pretend, Bad Omens. All these songs seem to have popped off, stuck in my head. Sleep Theory, who I think is personally one of the...
They're really good.
They're going to explode. Like, this Falling in Reverse tour is going to set them.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Cullen's vocals are some
They're
of the
doing
best.
a headliner before that.
Right.
Oh, really?
And their vocalist, Cullen, he mixes, like, R&B style vocals, but adds this, like, heavier background to it. Do you think that with the popularity TikTok has on bands, it used to be, MySpace back in the day. It used to be...
Oh, yeah.
It used to be,
It
used to be, hey, my band's... hey, my band's, posted this, check it out on Facebook, like Alex just said. Do you think that, not just TikTok, but like Spotify, Apple Music, where all these people can hear these bands and get them, is one of the most crucial elements to a band in today's...
1,000%. I'd say TikTok at this current moment is probably one of the most, if not most crucial aspect of social media that any up-and-coming artist needs to be hammering constantly and doing.
And not even just music, like podcasting like us. If people have like books coming out, audiobooks, whatever.
Yeah.
The direction from TikTok to Spotify, like the conversion rate on that, and Apple Music too, from what I've seen from us in the past year, like we've definitely grown with these songs that came out like in the last EP, and doing a lot more of like TikTok promotion for those songs. Like it's wild, honestly. Any up and coming artist that is refusing to use that, you're only hurting yourself.
Right.
You should, and you don't have to be an expert or not know what to do. Literally, just see what everybody else does. Do that too, because typically when you make a post, you can have followers on there, but a small fraction, like under 10%, always see your stuff. It's always going to new people all the time, and you're just constantly gaining new people. It's like low hanging fruit, bro. Like, go grab that shit.
Right. Yeah, like, essentially, yeah.
Like, it's there for you to
there.
take it. Like,
So I got a question for you. Going back to the writing thing, creatively, that's a spectacle. Like that, I can't imagine how hard it is to put a song together. What part would be harder? Like if you have I know you said you usually write the audio first to get it sounding good, and then go over with the lyrics. What is more difficult, if you have an idea for the lyrics, what you want to convey, and writing music to it, or if you have music and then writing lyrics
it's always
to fit?
I'd say it's always easier, process-wise, instrumental first, because you create your instrumental, so from there you create your melodies on top of that flows nicely. However, you totally like always have topics in mind. Like I have a whole list of topics that I want to touch on this record that I've like written down somewhere. That we use this thing called Trello to be organized. So like we have a card on there that's like all the topics we want to touch on, and then from there on, like we're just creating these instrumentals, and like this one's heavier. Like I want this one to be that topic. So like we'll get there. You know what I mean? But like it's definitely easier to have it first and then write the melodies and hooks to it, but coming up with topics beforehand is always a good thing too, because in the past we've like chilled and wrote like a sick instrumental and we're like, alright boys, we need words, and then sometimes it kind of comes out like cheesier at times too, because it's like we talk about the same thing again. So that's
Okay.
why I like to kind of have a board of like the topics I want to touch on,
Gotcha.
and like go from there.
As hard as the writing, like lyrically, process is, I feel like it's equally as hard doing instrumental because there's so much music out there. Not even just in your scene, whether it's rhythms or how stuff sounds from like EDM stuff, like what Alex is into, country
Yeah.
stuff, like what Adam's into.
Mm-hmm.
How hard of a process is it to play something, play it back, but then it just takes that one thing to be like, that sounds almost similar to this, but you sometimes can still run with it because it's off a little bit. Do you find it equally as hard making something sound different versus lyrically different?
I don't think it's like been a problem for us like writing something and going, oh shit, like that sounds like that song, we can't do that. It's all about being mindful to like, I really think it's important that the type of music that you're making, you keep up with your peers, you know what they're doing, so that you are not mimicking somebody, you're not ripping them off, like, because that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to be original to your own self and do your own thing,
Right.
and pull influences from what you like. Don't copy somebody or don't mimic them and like just rip them off completely. So it's like being mindful of making sure like, hey, that riff might be a little too close, let's try to change it. Also to like Nor in our band very good with like music theory and like producer as well, so it's like knowing certain chords that we could go to that are different, like, hey, this is a little outside the box in the genre, let's like do that progression, something like that. But all honesty, like writing instrumentals is I love doing that part. I think it's really fun, just like being part of the process with it.
Right.
Just having a blast, being like, dude, they're gonna make this like go hard as fuck right here, like.
Anything you want to touch on? Also, we can't leave this out. Alex is also in a band.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're called Nigerian, with the C in front. Yeah, we're kind of like a grungy, I would say like indie grunge and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like the same way. Like everything he's saying, like songwriting wise, it's kind of the same way,
Regardless of the
song.
genre, every artist has that in their mind. Like,
yeah.
what do we do to sound different?
Exactly,
How do
yeah.
these vocals match with this
Yeah.
instrumental? Can we change the tuning on this guitar for this song versus that?
Yeah, like when we write like Spencer will just he'll riff off something and then we'll all just like we kind of go into like a live like jam, like we'll just like he'll riff and we'll all just play like
Yeah.
we'll all just and we'll come up with ideas. We'll record it on our phones. We're like, okay, so like Chelsea, are you recording? And we'll just jam off that, and that's how we create the music, and then Chelsea come up with vocals. So yeah, it's same kind of same thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, when you're out there on the road, you do a lot of travel, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
If there was one story that sticks out in your mind, for good, bad, worse, and different, one that we obviously could tell with, in case authorities are watching, we definitely want to keep it.
Oh no.
We definitely want to keep it sort of clean. But is there something funny or a great road story
Yeah.
that you have that sticks out in your mind?
I got one that's funny as hell, bro. Last summer, we did a week run with a band that's on our label called Soft Spoken, and we played it was like the end of August. We played in Pittsburgh, and then I think like the next day or like that weekend was the West Virginia versus Penn State game. So after the show in Pittsburgh, we were like, fuck it, like let's drive to West Virginia like University and like hop out to the bar scene and like see what's going on and shit. So we drove to West Virginia University after the Pittsburgh show and like parked somewhere, and we parked at like a Home Depot and walked like a half hour to like these, like we found all the bars and stuff, like so many people, and we're just like, what the hell's going on, right? So we were like, partying pretty hard that night then, and then we got in line at this one bar, and it was like a rooftop one, and we get in line and we're standing there, and these like two guys in line are like, yo dude, they said MGK's in there. And we were like, the fuck you mean? Like, no, he's not. So we're just sitting in line, and then we walk into this bar, and it opens up in this big rooftop, and right where you are sitting in front of me to where I am, lo and behold, MGK is there on the board, like DJing the set, and we're like, Machine Gun Kelly is why are you a West Virginia University?
Of all the places you could be.
Why are you here right now? We're like, this is wild.
That's pretty badass. And I wasn't on the road for any of your stuff. I've done a lot of like the local stuff, like sold merch for you guys.
Yeah.
Smaller venues, done stuff like that. Touching on like the merchandise selling aspect, what do you find is one of the biggest draws like over to your table? Like obviously, you know, bigger bands are, you know, they're always going to be like, make sure you pick stuff up. When in reality, they know they can do the show, not make money on merch. Whereas guys like you
Depend on it.
almost like depend on it in a way. You'll still make money from the venue, but what do you find is one of the biggest draws to like a table? Like if you wanted to give advice for someone, you know, what could they make that could help them in that aspect?
Being present at your table. That's the biggest thing. Whether it's me or the rest of the band, like primarily after each set, I go right to the table and I'm there the rest of the night.
Right.
It would be really good for everybody to be there at all times as much as possible, but like at least one member of your band, primarily like you know, a lot of artists tend to have the vocalist go over there, so that's why I go over there. But being there the rest of the night and just being inviting to having people come up and having conversations, like, you know, with everybody that's here, that it's not like, how do I put this, like, yes, we're at the merch table. Merch helps your band on the road, helps us eat, helps us get to the next place we got to go to, and also one of the coolest things is knowing that somebody just walked away with your T-shirt and they're gonna wear it, and they probably know people that are, you know, and they're wearing my band's shirt somewhere that I'm not from. Like, I think it's pretty cool that someone out there is doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, like, we're not at the mall. Like, we're not trying to convert everybody into a sale. Like, what's really important is converting someone into a fan. So if someone wants to come up and talk to me for however long, like just about life and stuff, and like just want to shoot the shit, like, you're not inclined to buy anything. Like, I'm not, like, you know, it's not like you have to or whatever like that. Like, we're just there to have conversations and talk and stuff. But
and the stories you can get from the fans too. Like, it could be someone could be listening to your stuff in, you know, like British Columbia or whatever, up in Canada, and they could come up and you could have made an influence on that person.
And it's all about showing respect to the people that are coming out, because they deserve that. You know, they took the time out of their day and spent the money that they made from their job that they work to come and enjoy something that you're putting on, you know, a show. Like, anybody, you know, I would say the biggest piece of advice is be present at your table and talk to everybody and make fans. It's not about making just sales, it's about making friends and making fans too. Like, just be present at your table. I'd say, and overall, that does increase, like, you know, people purchasing stuff and whatnot too. Like, just having someone that just does, like your buddy that you brought out to do the merch that night, and like then after your set, the band goes and fucks off and goes somewhere. Like, that's a bad look too. Like, you should be at the show and you should support all the other artists that are playing after you too. You know, you got to be there.
Yeah, definitely. We have a couple more things that we're going to wrap up with. As soon as we get back, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with some more with Tyler. Approach with Caution podcast t-shirts are now available. Get yours now by emailing approachwithcautionpod@gmail.com. All right, guys, we're back. Tyler's still in the studio here. We're going to be wrapping it up, but we got a couple more questions for you. So being out there on the road, I'm sure you meet tons of people. Tons and tons of people. Is there anybody that you came across that was a complete dickhead, or just miserable to fans, miserable to the bandmates, miserable to you guys?
I'm not going to say anything about anything that the experience would take the name or whatever. I don't want to ever have anything come back, or I don't even like talking smack with people. But I will say this. When I was younger, my dad used to take me to meet bands and artists that I liked when I was a kid and like ask for their autographs and stuff outside of shows. And my dad used to do like the paparazzi stuff in the 90s and whatever. So there's been a couple people that we interacted with that were not very nice to me. It was David Archuleta.
Oh, man.
He was not nice to
Throwback.
me. Yeah, he was not nice to me. And that was like right after American Idol too. He was not nice to me. That guy that plays for the Kevin Garnett. He was not nice. I was with my cousin. We were in New York City. We were like 13, and we were standing outside of the Four Seasons, and he came out, and my cousin loves me. He was like, "Oh my God, it's Kevin Garnett," and he looked at us and he goes, "When I come back, I got you guys. No worries. I got to go do something right now. When I come back, like, I'll take a picture with you guys." And my cousin was like, "Oh yeah." So he came back to the hotel, and we were still there, and my cousin asked him, "Can we still get the picture, Mr. Garnett?" And we're like 13. He goes, "Get the fuck out of my face. I told you, motherfucker." And like swinging his arm like in my cousin's face. And my dad was there at the camera, and he goes, "Fuck," and he was taking pictures of him going like this, and Garnett was like, what the But yeah, those people, and the 30 Seconds to Mars guy, Jared Leto. Not
really?
Not nice.
Wow.
He was not nice to me.
I mean,
either.
I kind of.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I've came across as a kid, like, that were not very nice to me. But on the flip side, 98% of everybody else I've met was the nicest human beings on the planet. I think one of the nicest bands I've ever met as a kid was 3 Days Grace. Super nice people. The drummer came back outside and gave me and my cousin a drumstick. He signed it. Bass player Brad, he gave us guitar picks that one day. Awesome. That was probably one of the nicest bands I've ever met. And I'm trying to think. Hailstorm. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was a kid, like 13, they would come to the Croc Rock here in Allentown. Hailstorm and Saving Abel. They both brought me on their tour bus.
Oh, wow.
And just showed me around. And like, I remember going on the Saving Abel one, and the singer of Saving Abel was like, I don't really got anything to give you, but I want to give you something. So he gives me a guitar pick of Shinedown. He goes, do you know who Shinedown is? And I'm like, yeah, I know who Shinedown is.
Yeah,
everybody. He was like, we just opened for them. They're a really cool band. Here, take this.
That's
cool.
Is there anyone fan wise at a show that was like did they like crazy or like an experience from a show or
over excessive fan or somebody crazy?
That happened?
No. Everybody's
super chill.
Yeah, everybody's chill.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know what
now
I mean?
you guys have played a lot of places. You've played New York. You've played. You've done like a few Maryland shows.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been a show that has like been one of your best turnouts that you look back on and you're always going to remember as like the highlight so far this early in your career?
Yeah. Probably that Escape the Fate Red Jumpsuit Apparatus one in Jersey was fun.
That was cool.
That Bless the Fall Palisades.
Oh,
one.
The record
Palisades.
release show.
Palisades.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Come back.
Palisades. If you're
listening.
If you're watching
please,
Palisades, come back.
Please come back.
Favorite band ever.
Ahead of their time. They came out
Absolutely.
now.
They would be
top tier.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to be wrapping up, but before we do, if you want to make any plugs, announce anything going on, tell us where to find you.
Yeah, so we're on all streaming platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, all those ones. If you guys have it, we're definitely on there, YouTube, everything like that. We're working on a new record right now. We have a single that's going to be dropping, I think, soon-ish. So be on the lookout for that. I already told you guys. It's called My Shadow. So nobody else knows that, but be on the lookout for My Shadow coming this summer. And then we're working on an entire record. It's going to be 10 songs, and we're really looking forward to getting that wrapped up for you guys and get that out there to the world. Can't wait for that stuff.
Well, thank you for taking the time,
Yeah,
dude.
thanks
It's
for
always,
coming on.
It's always great learning about that side of the music industry from
always a
someone
pleasure.
who lives it,
Mhm.
continues to grow through it.
Yeah.
Being fans of music for so long, but now
And giving advice to viewers out there that want to get into music and want to have a career in music. So it's a really good intake in the world and business of the music industry. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to be checking it out soon, so keep an eye out for Take the Name. We're going to post our intro song, Invincible, in the comments. Be sure to go like them, subscribe, follow them for more, and keep an eye out for My Shadow coming out soon. Thanks again for stopping by, Tyler.
Woo!
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Approach with Caution podcast. For any questions or to order merchandise, or if you would like to appear on the podcast, please reach out to approachwithcautionpod@gmail.com. Until next week, feel free to find us on Facebook and Instagram and give us a subscribe on YouTube for more behind the scenes and cut content.